A month of miles continues in American Flat Track. It's the Harley-Davidson Sacramento Mile, presented by Cycle Gear here at the Cal Expo Fair. Jared Mees, well, he's taking the checkered flag first in every single race this year. But watch out for Brian Smith, the owner and master of this facility, aiming for his 8th straight victory. Brandon Robinson leading that factory Harley-Davidson squad to the big track today. A lot of fans on hand pulling for him. Brandon Price leads your singles division standings. He's been very consistent. It's been the opposite for your defending series champion, Colby Carlisle. Really needs a win to get his season back on track today. We're all on track. We're ready to go. Jason Wygant, joined by Ralph Shaheen. Heather DeBow will be patrolling the racetrack all afternoon. Unseasonably cool here in Sacramento for this time of year, but the racing was hot last time out. Yep, another big trophy for Jared Mees, pulling away in the series standings. The interesting thing is his teammate Brad Baker only 5th, and Brian Smith, due to injury, not even in the top 10. So we've seen a lot of other riders get up in the mix with that factory Indian wrecking crew, but even these privateers are generally on Indian machines this year also. Let's talk about racing here at Sacramento, Ralph.
They've been racing motorcycles professionally here in the capital city since 1914. Then it was over at the old Fairgrounds Mile where the great Carol Ressweber won on a Harley-Davidson before everything moved over here to Cal Expo, and they started racing here in 1978. Big, fast mile, tight corners, going to be fun to watch.
And a home race for you. That's cool. Yeah. All right, let's send it to Heather.
Thanks, Jason. We have a great crowd on hand here at the Sacramento Mile, and these fans are sure in for a great show. But every week we talk about who can knock Jared Mees off that top spot. One rider that's determined to do so is the mile specialist of Brian Smith, who is back after recovering from an injury. And he is going for his 8th win in a row here at this racetrack. In the singles class, the top of the point standings is very close, and it's anyone's game in that championship. Shayna Texter won this race last year and is wanting to get another win here tonight. She told me earlier she got more seat time on that motorcycle and feels confident that she can repeat here in Sacramento. But ultimately, it's going to come down to who can outsmart the competition and position themselves in the right spot on that last lap to make the winning move to the checkered flag.
And here's how you get to the main event. 3 heat races, that seeds 2 semis. Even if you win the heats, you still got to go to those semis. And then we're headed to the main events in the singles and twins division. Heather mentioned the last lap making the move. It's real high-speed chess when you're out here on a mile track, and you'll see it as we get to our storylines and some of the highlights from qualifying earlier today. Here's the draft. See the 44, the Harley-Davidson, Brandon Robinson getting the lead from Henry Wiles. He's got the number 1 trying to slide into second. But as Heather said, it comes down to the last lap and that draft quite often, and here it is.
Watch this, perfectly executed by Mees, coming off of 4. Nicely done.
Now, Brian Smith back from a broken leg. That's the bad news. The good news is he loves this racetrack. He's got Jeffrey Carver trying to draft him here in heat number 2. Not going to happen. The master of the mile looking strong today. He wins his heat. Kenny Coolbeth dominates heat race number 3. However, when you go to the semis, the competition stacks up together. Rare mistakes from Jared Mees. Jeffrey Carver takes the lead. The crowd here responds. They want to see someone challenge the champ. Unfortunately, the challenge would not last long because Carver's machine starts smoking. He gets black flagged, and that means he's not even going to be in the main event, and you can see the frustration. He might have been able to win this thing tonight. Instead, he's not even going to line up. And of course, Mees takes advantage. When you're hot, and everything is rolling his way. He takes the checkered flag. Bubba Blackwell is actually holding it, but right now they're all trying to knock Mees off. Brian Smith, injured or not, so strong in his semi, goes on to take the win. So, 8 straight victories in Sacramento for Smith could be in play. How about the singles division? Colby Carlisle, a tough season for your defending series champ. When we return, we'll talk to him. He's trying to chase down Brandon Price in the series standings. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Harley-Davidson, the official motorcycle of AFT Twins, and by American Flat Tracker Clothing Company. Find your groove at AmericanFlatTracker.com. And by Law Tigers, America's motorcycle lawyers. At our last American Flat Track race in Phoenix, watch Tristan Avery on the red machine just taps the back of the 92 of Brandon Price. He's battling for the lead, goes down hard. Luckily, he's okay. Here's Heather with an update.
Well, Jason, Tristan Avery sure had a strong run going at Arizona. You won your semi, but then in the main event, you had a crash after making contact with another rider. Looking back on that race, Tristan, what could you do to avoid situations like that on the mile track?
To avoid, luckily my maturity, I've learned a lot racing mile tracks over the past couple of years. On a 450, I mean, we're all right there together, and there's no advantages or disadvantages between us. Pretty much just got sucked into the draft in the back of Price going into turn number 3. Just had nothing else to do but collide with him. It wasn't a fun get off by any means, but we learned a lot.
We're here at your favorite mile track, Sacramento Mile. You won here in 2016, finished second here last year. What's the key to winning at this racetrack?
I'm hoping to get a good start. Obviously, that's the first thing, but have maybe a couple draft battles and hopefully pull away. I think staying patient, working your way, and staying right there in the top 3 will definitely be a key part to tonight.
Avery, part of a thick pack of competition here. Not only are the points super close to the top, variety of winners this year, Ralph.
We've had 5 races so far this year and 5 different winners. The only guy who hasn't won so far, the reigning champion.
Fastest qualifier today in the singles class was Colby Carlisle. But Colby, let's go back to Arizona. You failed to make the main. You had a mechanical issue. What was the problem with the motorcycle there?
To be honest, we really didn't find out yet. I know what happened, but we haven't really taken it apart. We kind of just focused on this week because the schedule is so tight right now. You got to move forward or else you're falling behind.
You and your team, your mechanic behind us, Andrew, he's making changes to the bike right now. You've been making changes at Calistoga, Arizona, all throughout race day. What are you guys working on specifically?
It's a new engine this year, so we're trying a bunch of new parts. I ride the same, every week. I ride what I think to be good every week. It's just today things are clicking. We're changing things on my motorcycle quite a bit this week. We really put in a lot of work between me and my mechanic, Andrew, and I think we got a good package now. I'm happy.
You look strong today, so where's your comfort level on this racetrack?
Really good. We made a big change before that final qualifying session, and I was kind of out there riding by myself for a while, and then I wised up. We got a red flag, and I got in the draft, and it's all strategy at mile racing. It's also about where you are and when you're there, and luckily I was at a smart place and a good place, and I made a draft pass, 2 draft passes actually, and fast qualified, so that's cool.
Well, he's going to aim for his first win of the year, and he starts it off right in his heat race. No drafting when you build up this big of a lead. Carlisle goes on to win that one. Little drama here in Heat 2. Dan Bromley, second in the series standings. Bike problems in his heat. Puts up the hand, telling everyone, don't run into me. I'm headed to the pits. He'll have to use a provisional to advance. Try to get into the main event and score some points. Kevin Stallings, who won our last race, goes on to win this heat race. Okay, so where's the drafting? Where's the action? Where are the battles? You see how much closer it is here in heat race 3. Brandon Price goes on to take the win, but really tight right behind him. Now here's semi 1. Bad start for Shayna Texter. It's been happening all year.
She's really been struggling just to get that Husqvarna to launch off the line the way she wants. Look how far back she is here. Way back in the pack. She'd have her work cut out for her, but she sliced her way through the field.
Gets to 5th, so she'll make the main, but not going to be a good grid position. Meanwhile, Colby wins his semi. So fastest qualifier, heat race win, semi win. He is absolutely rolling so far with Kevin Stallings right behind him. Here's your draft battle you want to see. Bad move there. Jesse Janish on the 132 misses the main groove. He's battling with Bromley, but this is going to be a near photo finish. Tristan Avery, Ryan Wells, Brandon Price, drafting, battling. Avery holds on for the win. We'll show it to you one more time. We expect this type of action in our main event when we get all the talent together. The lights have come up. Great atmosphere here at the Cal Expo Fairgrounds, and a lot of talent, including Shayna Texter, is going to have to overcome that bad grid spot in the main. She won this race a year ago. Brandon Price trying to protect his points lead. Hard to think of an outsider being your series champ, but Colby Carlisle, who has yet to win a race this year, could he do it? Could he have a perfect day with the qualifying heat semi-win? See if he can get into the main event. He's got the good grid position. Also want to watch out for Ryan Wells, who had a victory earlier this year and won this championship 2 years ago. So there it is, 18 riders. Start's very important. But this will be really exciting when we get that draft pack. Could come down to the final corner in this one. Let's go racing in our main event from Sacramento, and a great jump for Carlisle, picking that outside spot. Looks like it's going to pay off, Ralph.
Great move, and look how they have to fight their way down to the bottom. We said the corners are a little bit tighter here than, say, like Springfield, so you really slow down a lot more in the turns here. Then you got to rocket down the straightaways, long straights here at Sacramento.
And the draft already coming into play. Looks like Ryan Wells on the 94 is trying to get Carlisle for the lead. For the moment, Carlisle and then Estenson Yamaha able to hold him back. Dan Bromley sliding up to third, so they got the bike fixed after the heat race problems. Used the provisional to advance through, and he's in the thick of it in third.
A bit of a narrow groove here today. It's been dry recently, and the track not holding a lot of moisture in, so you can see the blue groove fairly narrow down on the bottom. So we saw a lot of guys earlier in heat races and semis. If you just slip a little bit off of that groove, it can cost you a lot of spots.
No changes yet, although Bromley is now putting some serious heat on your second place rider, who's on that 94, Wells, and that's allowing Carlisle to try to pull away just a little bit. Oh, but it's so early in these mile races. Starts help, but it's really about putting yourself in position later on in the race, so you're just kind of wondering what everybody's hiding up their sleeve early on.
At this stage, everybody's just feeling each other out as far as what do they have, what position do you want to be in as you get towards the end of this race. The one thing you can't allow is to let your leader disappear. Wells and Bromley have to kind of work together here to stay with our race leader, Colby Carlisle.
You got Jesse Janish there in fourth, staying right with him. Bromley's given Wells a couple of looks, but hasn't made the move. Carlisle still up front. Let's send it to Heather.
Yeah, guys, Dan Bromley has had a little bit of a tough day here in Sacramento. He had to use his provisional after a fuel line came unsnapped, and earlier in qualifying, he went down after his foot clipped the berm. He completely ripped his leathers open, and his girlfriend had to pull out the sewing kit to put him back together. But he has shown some speed here in the main event, and he's running in the top 5.
And by the way, the factory KTM motocross team members, Roger DeCoster, Ian Harrison, showed up here this weekend to check in on Bromley. KTM getting more and more involved in flat track. They were there helping with some of the bike repairs. So Bromley, who went from a essentially privateer at the beginning of the season, got a lot of eyes focused on him as he battles for this title and also battles Wells for second, but so far not able to make a move.
Well, it's a huge racing weekend in Sacramento with the Hangtown Motocross going on earlier in the day and then the flat track at night. A lot of fans doing the double, and some of the mechanics and team members as well.
Let's see what Bromley can do with that motorcycle in third. Still not able to make it happen. And Wells on the Richie Morris Racing Honda has got it open, and he goes for the lead.
Great move up the inside. You can see how much speed he carried in there. And look at this. Carlisle might even lose second. No, he's going to hang on for now.
Yeah, that really came unraveled quickly for Carlisle. Almost got run into by Bromley. You got Janish sitting there in fourth. Oh, and just like that, Carlisle retakes the lead, and Bromley's trying to follow him through, and he does.
Well, the strong move there by Carlisle was the grip he got coming off of 4. He made that pass way early down the straightaway, not at the far end going into the corner like you normally see with the draft coming into play, like you're going to see here.
And it works for Bromley. Is he going to get the spot? He's on the inside, just managed to get that thing onto the groove. That was tight.
Now let's see if Carlisle can repeat the feat coming off of 4, because what that would mean, Jason, is he would be really strong on the run to the checkered flag on a last lap. Here he comes again. That is a critical move right there. The fact that he can do that means everything on the last lap.
Yeah, he's got that in his back pocket. They can do whatever they want for the other corners, but if he's able to just retake that lead every time they hit the stripe, not going to be easy. So we'll see what kind of strategy Bromley and Wells and the rest can use. We've got the Replay XD on board here. Brandon Price, Jesse Janish all over him. Tristan Avery making a move. That's what the draft looks like up close. But can they catch Colby Carlisle? We went to break here in the Sacramento Mile. Tristan Avery was making moves. He's continued to strike. He's all the way up to second. See him in red in the 16, trying to get Colby Carlisle for the lead. Got Ryan Wells, Dan Bromley, Brandon Price all in this pack as well. Let's see if Avery can get around the number 1 of Carlisle, who's been the master of coming off of this turn 4 and holding the lead every time they get to the stripe. Only 5 to go.
That's going to be what they're going to have to figure out. But boy, you know what they did? They buried him. They just shoved him all the way back to 4th. That could be a big deal here with just 5 to go.
Okay, so that's the furthest back Carlisle has been. He's pretty much been in control of this pack the whole way. And now it's 2 Hondas battling. Avery takes the lead from Wells. Bromley's coming to the KTM. He's on the inside. And he makes 2 moves on the back stretch to take the lead.
And they kept the door shut on Carlisle. Kept him pinned back there in 4th.
So now big Dan Bromley, let's see him get into the full tuck. Try to get that frame aerodynamic under the handlebars and try to avoid, oh, Carlisle all the way down to the bottom, and he made it work.
What an incredible move by Colby Carlisle. Colby coming up at turn 4 is an absolute rocket.
Now, Carlisle won last year's title, but he did not win a main event, and he wore that on his sleeve. When we talked to him at the beginning of this season, he said the number 1 goal, get race wins. He's in position right now. Ryan Wells makes the move, but we've seen them pass Carlisle into turn 3, but Carlisle has had the moves coming off before they get to the flag. Can Wells hold him back?
We got to see if the Honda can hold that Yamaha back. Now he goes to the outside. That's the other thing. Carlisle's passed him on the outside and the inside before the stripe every lap.
Got the Replay XD on board with Brandon Price. He's gotten back around Tristan Avery, who's on that number 16. So Price, been a little quiet early in this one, maybe setting himself up for something in the waning laps. He is your series leader, so a lot on the line for him. Besides the race wins, he wants to hold these riders back for the points. There's Wells coming back forward again in the 94. So Price up to second. Can he get around Colby Carlisle? Oh, this is going to be high stakes now. The passes and the action have been great so far, but the intensity about to ratchet up. 2 to go.
They're going to have to line up to make a run at Colby coming off the 4. I think whoever is going to have the best shot at him is going to need some help pushing in the draft to get past that Yamaha.
And Price and Carlisle have not been hooked up yet in this race, so they don't really know where they want to go. It looks like an attempt on the inside by Price. He's got the lead. But does he realize what Carlisle has coming off of turn 4? Carlisle has been in control every time coming out of the corner. Maybe Price has a different strategy to try to hold him back. They go into the tuck, and there's the draft, and there's the pass. 1 lap to go. Now it's Bromley trying to make moves.
Man, he's impressive coming off the 4. You can see that bike starting to pick up the traction mid-corner and just driving off the final turn.
Into the back straight. Bromley's made several moves back here, but does he have a move that will allow him to hold it all the way to the checkered flag? Is he gonna want to take the lead here? Oh, Wells with a last-ditch charge. He comes in hot, takes over the lead, but he can't hold it down in the groove and coughs the lead back up and goes all the way to the back. It was the final lap. He had to go for it. Carlisle's going to lead them coming off. Now it's Bromley's turn to try to use his own strategy against them. Price as well, down to the checkers. Carlisle takes his first win of the 2018 season. What a race. All 3 of them were there at the stripe. Woo! Let's watch that again, Ralph. I got to catch my breath. You take it.
Well, I mean, Wells did exactly what he had to do. He got a great pull coming into 3, ran it deep into the corner, just too deep, couldn't keep it on that narrow groove, slipped up, and they all came back by. Bromley probably had to lift a little bit right there because of all of that, and right from the middle of the corner, Carlisle and that Yamaha just too strong. They gave him a great run, but he was just too tough.
Here it is, one last time, classic mile finish. Almost had to use the photo to figure out who won that one. Here's Heather.
Colby Carlisle, your winner here at the Sacramento Mile. Colby, last season you won the championship without a win, but you finally got that monkey off your back. Tell us about your race tonight.
Yeah, it's been about 2 years since I won a race, and I'm stoked. You know, that race that I led for the first half, and then at the end it got a little dicey. I thought I was by myself, and then, you know, I knew how strong this bike was. My team, we worked so hard this week, and I'm excited. You know, that was a fun race. It got tight at the end, a little closer than I wanted, but I knew I had it.
You spoke about the racing being dicey. You made a pass 4 wide from the inside. Describe that move.
I trusted it. You know, it was a little dusty, but we launched.
Wow. Well, that's one way to get back into victory lane with some daring do for a rider known for his consistency normally. Price and Bromley, Wells, Avery round out the top 5. They all had a shot at the win. There is your entire 18-rider field. Singles racing just keeps getting better. Let's go back to Heather.
Our second place finisher tonight in the singles class is Brandon Price. Brandon, during that race we saw you almost look like you were holding back a little bit. Were you trying to play a little bit of a setup game on the other riders there?
Yeah, at the end. I mean, at the beginning I was trying to go all out to get back up to the field because was like a pack of 8 and I was at the end of it. So I tried to get back up, and then when I was around second or third, I was trying to just sit there and wait to see what happened. But they just started dive bombing back and forth, so I kind of had to make a move towards the end, and then I had a good run coming off the last corner, and I thought I was going to get a good drive. I did, but it just wasn't enough. Colby had a really good bike. My bikes are really strong too. You know, I thank the whole Parkins Brothers team, you know, and everybody else for helping out.
And by edging Bromley, Price extends his points lead to a whopping 4. This battle is going to be fun to watch all season long. Wells, Shayna Texter 4th, Jesse Janish 5th. Always exciting in this division. So great racing to set us up for our AFT Twins final. Will be coming up on this track in just a few moments. There's your podium. Bromley on the right, Price on the left, and Colby Carlisle finally in the center of the podium. Now this man has been in the center of the podium in the Twins class for the last 7 years. We'll talk to Brian Smith when we return. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Indian Motorcycle. Be legendary. By E3 Spark Plugs, the official spark plug of AFT. And by Vance & Hines, the presenting sponsor of AFT Twins. Tough year for Brian Smith, your 2016 Series champ in 2018. Broken leg here at a crash in Texas. But he's strapping on the boot and he's going to go racing on one of his favorite tracks.
You can see Smith fight the front, starts to go away from him, and then piling into the back.
Texas, tried a little different line than I've been running most of the race. I moved up and caught my front wheel in one of the ruts. As soon as you do that, you got to put your left foot down to hold yourself up. And as soon as I planted my foot, it kicked back and down I went. You know, it happened so fast, it's just a reaction. You don't have time to think about it. Unfortunately, my reaction wasn't good enough and I crashed there. My left fibula was broken just below the knee, basically right above my boot where it's unprotected. Unfortunately, it's the left leg, which is your third wheel on a flat track bike. Your right wrist is important and your left foot's the second most important. I had some great doctors and some great therapists that really helped me. I'm not just lying because I'm a racer saying everything's fine, don't worry guys. I mean, it actually is. My leg's ahead of schedule, it's healed. Barring anybody running it over like Jared Mees or crashing again, it'll be just fine. Getting hurt so early in the season, it's a bummer. It takes you out of the championship hunt. The only good thing is now for me on a personal level is I don't have nothing to lose. It's just all about race wins.
Smith wins his 6th Sacramento Mile. Brian Smith, he did it again for the 7th straight time.
A lot of people ask me that. Why do you win there so much? Sacramento, even more than the other miles, comes down to strategy. You're playing chess out there at 130 miles an hour. Make your move, but don't go all the way. Don't show your whole hand of cards, but show a little bit. Very fortunate for me, I've been able to outsmart everybody for the last 7 years and hopefully going on 8.
Well, they call him the master of the mile for a reason. 3 wins last year in the miles, but that tiny margin of victory shows he knows exactly when to strike.
Well, what it does is it shows he leaves just a little bit left up his sleeve at that last moment and pulls off these incredible victories. He truly is a master of the miles.
And if the leg really isn't holding him back, as he says it will not, it will be really interesting to see if he can knock some of these guys off now that he's back to racing. This was our podium from our last mile event. See Henry Wiles on the right, 2nd in the series standings. Been real strong this year.
Well, Jason, Henry Wiles is normally known as the TT guy, but you've come out swinging this season. Already 2 podiums, a worst finish of 7th. What do you think has led to your success so far this season?
Well, really a lot of people stepping up, helping me out. The Bandit Industries, Wilco Racing, Indian has really helped out my success. Brian Bigelow coming out to the races, you know, have somebody to kind of help me out with the setup and get me dialed in. It's been a lot for me because I'm kind of team manager, mechanic some days, rider. You know, it's been a lot of fun so far, and we've still got a lot of racing to go, so I'm not real worried about the points, but still striving to get those good finishes.
You had a good finish at Arizona, 3rd place. How are you feeling about getting another solid finish here at the Sacramento Mile?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good. We went out in that last session. I think we made some improvements with the motorcycle. I kind of messed up a little bit in qualifying, I think. Got a little bit of an uphill battle already today, but I'm ready for it.
You're 2nd in points. What do you have to do to stay a contender in the championship hunt?
Really just keep getting good finishes. Stay at the front. Try to make the bad days not that bad so far. Like you said, it's been a 7th. You know, Jared, he's got us beat. He's got us all beat pretty good right now. So we're trying to chase after him and get caught up.
Well, Jason, Henry Wiles, the key for him is improvement. Keep an eye on the 17 today to see if he can get another good finish here on this mile track.
Also aiming for a good finish, the factory Harley man, Brandon Robinson, was leading a bit in his heat race earlier today. So we're going to check in with the 44 and see how well he does. And then it'll be our AFT main event. They're all trying to knock off Jared Mees. We're back and nearly ready to kick off our main event of the Sacramento Mile here at American Flat Track. But first, we want to check in with Brandon Robinson, the factory Harley rider.
Oh, that's bright. Should I put them there? Oh, you're going to see my legs and everything. I should have worked on my calves a little better. Oh, man. Flat track racing to me is just poetry in motion. I love going fast and being inches away from my buddies out there on the track and being aggressive and that competitive nature. I think that just pushes me, and I thrive off of that. To call my passion my job at the same time is pretty awesome, and I'm blessed in that situation. I see more potential out of the program this year than what we did last year. You know, overall, I think the team, it's going in a better direction. We've had better results to start the year. Or last year, it was pretty brutal. To start this season with Jared starting off with a good run in Atlanta, and I've had a couple good runs this year at Dallas and Arizona already. Harley's not happy with running in the back, so they want to do everything they can to get back to the front, and hopefully I'm the guy that's able to do that for them.
Smith trying to make the draft pass. He goes around the outside. Robinson's going to try to hang on to it. It's going to be Smith.
Daggone Brian got me. Almost thought I had it, and I just seen this little blur go by me at the last second down the straightaway, and I'm looking forward to racing here in Sacramento. It's one of my favorite miles on the circuit, and it usually is a pretty dang good show. Nailed it.
Let's see if he nails it when the checkered flag waves tonight. Brandon Robinson wants to put that Harley-Davidson in front of the Indian wrecking crew, Brian Smith, who's back in action and wants to knock off Jared Mees, who's been nearly unbeatable this year. As we get to the starting grid, a lot of riders could win here, though, Ralph. Those Indians, even the production machine's been very good.
Straight off the showroom floor, they're very fast and very rider-friendly. Take note of the man back in 18th place, Ronnie Jones. At 57 years and 6 months of age, becomes the oldest to make a main.
Wow. Let's go to Heather, Dunlop Tower Tech Tip. We're about to go racing.
Here at the Sacramento Mile, Dunlop provided these riders with 2 tire compounds, the 2 harder compounds in the R8 and the R10. Earlier today in the practice and qualifying sessions, we saw many of the riders on that R8, including the heats and the semis. Ultimately, though, AFT mandated that the riders need to be on the stiffer compound of the R10, so they gave them an extra practice session to scuff in that tire. But one interesting thing that we did see was Jared Mees ran that R10 in his heat, so we'll see if that gives him an advantage in the main event tonight.
All right, thanks, Heather. Underway, and there is Mees on the number 1. That R10 hooking up, going through the gears, and it looks like he's going to grab your K&N hole shot here in Sacramento.
Well, that's exactly what they all fear, right? Don't let Mees get away early, and he got a great start.
Chad Coase, California native, gonna draft right past him to take the lead. You know the fans love that. So good job by Coase. Oh, and Wiles, you see some of the sparks. Was that from the steel shoe or from the motorcycle on that 17?
Now remember, these corners are a little bit tight when you talk about a mile, and we've got that really narrow groove. So what you can't afford to do is slip up off that groove and make a mistake. Gearing is going to be a real challenge here tonight because of those two things. One thing to keep an eye on with Mies is he's been shifting a little bit. And I talked to him about it. He said, I'm not shifting on every lap, but I am utilizing it, going from fourth to third, which could really help him coming off the corner.
Well, something helped there. He got back around Chad Coase. Shout out to the privateer there, back by Indian of Oklahoma City. Back there in second on the number 49 now. And let's see if he can draft Mies and try to retake the lead, and he's going for it. Coase running the low line. Can he hold Mies? Yes. He's got to get to the groove, and he does it. So good job by Chad Coase.
Shifting is not necessarily uncommon in flat track racing, but it's not done all that regularly. And it's tricky. They've gone and worked on the shifter on that number 1 bike to make it easier for Jared if he decides he wants to do it.
Well, you see Kenny Coolbeth there on the number 2 in third, and I talked to Kenny. He said, look, I think the production Indian that I'm able to purchase is really good and probably pretty similar to the factory machine of the number 1 of Mies, but he knows that Kenny Tolbert, the tuner for Mies, probably has some tricks up his sleeve, and maybe those tricks to make that bike shift that much easier, that could be part of it. Right now you get the feeling that they're all laying in wait. Chad Coase leading them around, but they're right on his rear tire.
And you have to wonder, is Mies just playing a little bit with Coase here? Now he comes to the outside. Look at that.
Oh, and Coolbeth going to try it down to the inside. Oh, thought better of it. So Mies back to the number 1 spot. Yes, it's a little different. Whoa, what happened to Coase? They're really slowed up, and that held up Coolbeth and the rest of the pack. Going to aid Mies.
Yeah, that's a big break for Jared Mies. Gave him an opportunity to put about 6 or 7 bike lengths between him and the rest of the pack.
And we get our first look at Brian Smith on the number 4, who's one that's raced the last 7 years. Now, Smith, coming back from that broken leg, told me earlier, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. Had that crash earlier, but he said it actually hurts more walking to the line than it does when he's on the motorcycle. So even though he didn't get the start he wanted, he could be capable of mowing through this field and getting to Mies and challenging him. Coolbeth up to second. Can he run down the number 1?
What Brian really needs is to get up there with Kenny Coolbeth and work with him. Those two, as smart as they are, veterans of the miles, they could be very strong. Both on Indians, that could be a real strong combination to run down Jared Mies.
So Smith battling with his teammate, the number 6 of Brad Baker. Speaking of Smith, here's Heather.
I spoke to Brian Smith earlier today about tire management and conservation. He's the mile master, and he knows how to get the wins here at Sacramento, and he said you can't run the first lap like it's the last lap. And just like in many types of racing, you can't win the race on the first lap. So we might be watching that number 4 of Brian Smith holding back just a little bit and conserving his tire.
Mies trying to stretch it out on Coolbeth. Yeah, you have to wonder what situation is everyone happy with. You got Coase, the 17 of Wiles, then Smith on the 4, Baker on the 6. Any one of these riders on a mile track, you could still consider them within striking distance, especially because there's so much more racing yet to come.
Keep an eye on that left foot of Jared Mies. That's the one he's going to use to shift that motorcycle from 4th to 3rd, shift down, and then as he comes up off the corner, quick flick up, put him right back in the top gear.
Brian Smith continues to battle with Baker, the 4 and the 6. Look at Coolbeth, slowly but surely inching up on your leader, Mies.
And so much of that with Kenny is the veteran knowledge. This is his final year, and he wants to show he is every bit as strong as anybody out there. It's not his speed that's forcing him into retirement. It's just time to move on.
Yeah, this guy's been at this game forever, but he is still as hungry as any of the kids, and he's now gotten right there on the back tire of Mies, and that means you're in the draft zone. But only lap 8 of a 25-lap final. You have to wonder if he's going to try to pull the trigger on the pass this early. Doesn't look like he is. Let's send it to Heather again.
That's right, guys. We're watching that number 2 bike of Kenny Coolbeth Jr. track down the leader right now. He told me earlier today that he feels much more comfortable here in Sacramento than he did last week in Arizona. One thing to note as well is that the last person to break a winning streak by Brian Smith was Kenny Coolbeth back in 2016 at Springfield. He said he'd love to be the one to break his win streak here in Sacramento as well.
Thanks, Heather. And on some of the shots, you can see the rear brake disc rotor of Coolbeth's number 2 glowing, especially coming around turns 3 and 4. Now he's right there. Is he going to make the move, or is he going to wait? This is going to be a real interesting battle between two riders who really know how to get it done.
Well, and Kenny's been learning about this in each and every week. He's got 1 mile under his belt now, so his knowledge of what to do to set up the bike to get it where he wants it, he's gaining a lot of that. This is his skills as a rider and how to play those chess pieces that we've talked about on the mile that has allowed him to reel in Jared and now challenge him for the win.
So the replay XD onboard shows you Coolbeth. What a contrast. Oh, now Coolbeth is going for it, and he makes the pass. I was going to say, compared to our singles race, where they were passing each other every single lap, you see these veterans are waiting. Coolbeth's tired of that. He went for it, and now he has the lead.
One of the things that really helped Kenny out here today was he got a good start. He's been struggling with his starts in recent weeks. But boy, look at me, he's right back at him. That good starting spot, though, has put him in a position where he could start up front and race with it.
Okay, so now we're starting to see these two go at it. I've got to figure this is kind of fun for them as well, to just dice it up back and forth. But they've got to wonder, is anyone else going to join this party? It's Coolbeth and Meads right now. But look who has slowly crept up to third, Brian Smith. Jared Meads still out front in Sacramento. Battle continues here, American Flat Track. It's the Harley-Davidson Sacramento Mile. And we're about to have a 3-way duel for the lead between 3 riders who probably know the mile tracks better than anyone. You've got Jared Meads out front, Kenny Coolbeth second, and now creeping into the picture, the number 4, Brian Smith, who has won this race the last 7 years.
Well, then the question becomes, if Brian can catch him, can Brian and Coolbeth work together to get around Jared and then settle it out on the final lap?
Coolbeth, he was patient. He was perched back there behind Meads for the majority of this race, but now it's time to go because Smith continues to close, and he's nearly within the draft zone now, and even shading a little bit low on the entrance into turn 3, so trying to figure out where there might be room to make a pass.
Boy, and these 3 Indian riders have separated themselves by a long way over the rest of the field. And this is why the grandstands are packed here tonight, to see these 3 at this level of skill play this kind of high-speed chess. This is what's fun about American Flat Track.
Oh yeah, and this is a very knowledgeable crowd here. They know exactly who the players are, and they know how they want to play it. It's gonna come down to that last lap or 2. Coolbeth has just been hanging out back here behind Meads, testing the draft, but not really showing everything he's capable of doing. And you got to figure now that Smith is there, he's going to play it the same way as well.
You can see it right there entering 3. Kenny started to close in on him, then let up a little bit early instead of letting that draft pull him all the way in.
4 to go. Meads continues to lead. Coolbeth and Smith stalking him.
What they're not doing is showing Jared where they think they're strong, making him guess which way are they going to come after me on that final lap. Smith still needs to get a little bit closer. He's not close enough yet, and he needs to get up there to help Kenny.
Yeah, I think a lap or 2 ago he was actually closer, and I thought, oh, here it comes, but not quite yet. So, yeah, it's good to hold back and not show Meads anything, but they don't know exactly where they can make the pass until they actually do it. So there's going to be a little bit of a guesswork as the laps continue to click off. It's going to be 3 to go. Who's going to try to make the move first?
But Kenny is right there. I think Coolbeth has to be happy with what he's got and has to feel like he can make a run at him, but I know he'd love to have a little bit of a push as well.
Smith a little closer this time than he was the previous lap around. Now a little bit more aggression from Coolbeth, trying to show Meads a wheel.
The other thing is, can you push Jared just a hair up off that line? Because as we saw earlier in the day when he was racing with Carver, if you can get him just off the line a little bit, any one of these three could lose all the bite they need to make the run to the line.
And if they do make the move on Mies, does he have something in the back of his mind to try to get them back? He's only had to repass Coolbeth one time. Every other stage of the race, he has been the leader. So for every move, there could be a counter. Brian Smith still circulating back there, but I think you're right, Ralph. He's got to get a little bit closer because white flag is not too far away.
Brian slipped up down in 1 and 2, and it cost him some ground.
So here we go, Ralph. As the white flag's going to come unfurled, who's in the best spot? Is it better to be leading, or would you rather be Coolbeth back here?
Right now, I got to go with Jared Mies. I mean, he's been unbeatable this year. So, you know, even though you would be thinking the draft would be in Coolbeth's favor, Mies has just been so strong. And with Tolbert helping set up that Indian, you got to go with number 1 at this point.
So it is the last lap, and you notice Smith getting a lot more aggressive. He knows he's got to close up and get in position. We're on to the backstretch. Coolbeth has been playing it, yes, very cool there the entire race. Will he attack now? Mies isn't going to let it happen. He was able to beat him down to the inside. So here comes the big draft. It could be a 3-rider showdown right to the line. Who can get the launch out of the final corner? Here we go. Coolbeth is in the draft. Can he pull out of it and try to slingshot? He's going to go for it. No! Mies holds on and wins the Sacramento Mile. Woo!
Kenny did everything he could, but he needed a little bit of push from behind. Jared ran it in as deep as he possibly could into 3 and kept it right on that groove. Here comes Kenny, and if he could have had a little bit more push before they fanned out, he might have been able to get around, but Smith just wasn't there. Here comes Kenny, did everything he could, it just wasn't enough.
Yep, and there's that gap back to Smith. That, you're right, Ralph, might have made all the difference. Smith was never able to get quite close enough to be the factor he would have liked to have been. He settles for 3rd in his return from injury. Baker 4th, outdueling Wiles for 5th. Fisher ends up 6th, Robinson 10th. That's your field at the Harley-Davidson Sacramento Mile. Well, it doesn't matter. Throwing all sorts of tracks, strategies, conditions, and motorcycles at Jared Mies, and he continues to win races. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Harley-Davidson, the official motorcycle of AFT Twins. By Replay XD, the official action camera of American Flat Track. And by American Flat Track, America's original extreme sport. Sunoco Go the Distance Award. We're totaling up every mile logged in practice and racing this year. Briar Bauman at the top of the standings right now. Time for the Motul move of the race. We got to look at 2 different elements. Jared Mies getting the lead and then holding it.
And it all takes place really at turn 3. Look how deep he goes here to take the lead away from Coolbeth, but he does such a good job of staying in that narrow groove. And then coming off of 4, it was the same thing. He went deep into 3 on the last lap, kept it all together, got to the line first.
So that's your Motul move of the race. Another win for Jared. Here's Heather.
Jared Mies gets the win here at the Sacramento Mile. Jared, it is your first win at this racetrack. Not only that, you broke the streak of Brian Smith here. He didn't get 8 because you got the win, but tell us a little bit about what it means to you to get your first win here.
You know, a lot of racetracks that we race year after year that are legendary, you know, my heroes race this racetrack. So you kind of want to put your name on the list of winning one of these things. And, you know, Brian's won 7 of these things, and, you know, he's nipped me so many times, and I got a good start and basically just ran my own race. I diced with Chad the first couple laps and then got away from him, I think, and then I seen Coolbeth was just pressuring me the whole time, and I was getting off the corners so good. The race tech suspension was so hooked up today, and I'm having a lot of fun.
Also fun when you look at the series standings and see a 36-point gap back to Henry Wiles. Good to see Brian Smith getting back into the racing today, but he's way out of the hunt, not even in the top 10 due to the injury. Bauman and Baker, Coolbeth, top 5. Okay, let's go back to Heather. Let's see what Kenny Coolbeth's strategy was late in this one.
Here with a close second place was Kenny Coolbeth, third podium of the season for you. We saw you try to make a pass there on Jared Mees to the outside. Looking back at the race, is there anything you would have done differently?
Yeah, well, when you start racing, I just kind of followed him. I didn't want to like hold each other up, you know, because I knew we had a pretty good gap, and those guys would be coming if we started racing each other. So it was good, you know. I wanted to beat him really bad, and but just came up short, and it's just one of those things, you know. He's got it going on, man. Like I said a couple weeks ago, it's amazing what he's doing, and you can't take it away from him. Love him or hate him, he's got it going on.
And it's love-hate between Mees and the man on the right there, Brian Smith, who does see his win streak here in Sacramento snapped, but a podium's pretty good returning from injury.
Bringing it home third today in the main event is Brian Smith. Brian, it's not exactly what you were looking for, but it is your first podium of the season, so you have to be proud of that.
Yeah, normally you're kind of happy with the podium, but here at Sacramento, it's special to me. I've won it every time since we've been coming here in the modern era. So to have the streak broke kind of sucks, but last weekend I was sitting at home with my leg up with ice on it. So, you know, come back, get a podium with a half-broken leg, I'll take it.
These guys are tough. Big race coming up next.
Well, and this is a racetrack where the corners are much wider, speeds will be even higher. Man, you gotta love going to Springfield.
Probably the crown jewel of everything in American flat track, and that will be our next event. Colby Carlisle back in victory lane in the singles division. Jared Mees holds on barely to win in twins. For Ralph Shaheen and Heather DeBow, I'm Jason Wygant. Thanks for watching.